Lamb Show. We
walk
appreciate
and
y'all
profile.
for being
Okay.
here, taking time
That's what I
out
was
of your
thinking,
day
but
to
I
come
didn't.
watch these kids exhibit. We appreciate y'all making the drive. Also, this
Hanging-
will be on
hanging
live
upstairs
stream for the
without-
people who are at home who cannot be
really
here.
this
If
way.
you will text them
Unless
and
he's
let them know
following
to
us
go
right
to
here.
YouTube site for Virginia
Yeah, he is
Livestock.
following us.
They can watch the
It doesn't
show
matter
as
what
it
you
happens.
Doesn't matter to me.
So,
That's what y'all did yesterday. We're doing the same.
Please have you stand and remove your cover and say pledge to the United States of America.
Got it.
Yeah, then you ready to place them?
Place them this way.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your head. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the sunshine. We could use a lot of rain, but thank you for what we've got. Thank you for everybody who came here today. Thank you for bringing the kids, the ag teachers, the parents here safely along with the animals so they can exhibit to the best of their ability. Let us not forget those who have made this show what it is today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to hand this mic over to Hank Thetford, who is the lamb superintendent, and we will get started with your lamb show. Thank you again.
Bring them in like this,
Uh-huh.
and then we're gonna walk a circle. And we're gonna profile them on that fence.
So we're walking.
I didn't hit you in the stomach.
Yeah.
Wait, bro.
When we look on the side,
You want me to hang on when you're
I
ready?
don't care. Whatever you want to
If
do.
you don't mind in your back pocket, all it is a switch
We
right
get
there when
started.
you're ready to start.
What?
And we get started.
You were even 2 minutes late. That's impressive.
If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
Bring them in like that. Rear view. Just show me the butt. And then we'll make a circle, and then we'll profile them right here. And then when I pull the bottom, we'll move them over here. But let them. They'll help you with that.
I was an M16
Just goes, I in the ribbons. No, they do a ribbon different, a little different. We
I've
don't
been
want
on
to
Air
do that.
Force One. I've been on Air Force
Don't
Two.
bobble
I
on
just
that
did some security for Queen Elizabeth.
To introduce and thank Adam Lira. He is a dedicated agricultural educator and industry professional with a lifelong passion for youth and livestock programs. He is married and the proud father of 2 children. Adam graduated from Sam Houston State University with a degree in animal science and a minor in ag education. He has judged lamb and goat shows at every level across numerous states. After teaching agriculture for 13 years, Adam now serves as the Career Technical CTE Education Director for Splendora ISD, where he continues to support and develop strong agricultural and career-focused programs. Thank you, Adam, for coming out to judge our show.
Got us a little breeze. Hopefully we keep that, or it's going to get a little warm in here. I'm going to introduce my daughter. She got to come with me and skip school today. This is Bristol, and what a better way to skip school when she looks at me and says, "Hey, I want to go with you, Dad." She didn't get to go with me to Oklahoma the other day, and I was like, well, this would probably be a little better trip to come to New Braunfels than drive 7 hours to Oklahoma to judge one. But I'm very proud to have her in the ring. And God, if you can skip school, going to a livestock show is the reason why you do it. When we bring this first class of downs out here, we got a complete set of sheep here. Some that we'd like to change a little bit, some that we like to get a little more bloom and trim them up a little bit. I think our young lady's wether that starts at class is kind of the combination sheep for me. Definitely the most dimensional down his top when you look at him. He handles with the most correctness and depth in that twist. One that you like that about him, how he balances from the side. One that I sure would like to change, get him to relax in his back a little bit. He wants to be a little tight in his spine when we move him around. We get him set up. I think that's acceptable for me today in this class. I think our young lady's wether here in second, patterns our first. Another real smooth, attractive sheep, but one that just doesn't have that dimension of muscle down his top. He's not as big and as wide through his rack and out through that hip as we compare him to the first place lamb. And one that you just want to get a little more touch to compete. I think an easy second place here for me in this class. We get to our young ladies here in third. Here's one that's got some width to body, but one that just wants to get a little plainer from the side when you analyze him, one that's a little smaller and fairer in his bone work, one that gets a little more mature and deeper in that chest floor as we compare him to the pair above him. I think a nice one to come in third. And as we get down the line, our fourth and fifth, just one that we'd like to change, get him a little trimmer over those ribs, fix its neck set quite in it. And then our one that rounds out the class is a big frame, neat looking sheep, just not enough muscularity, enough flesh to move up in class. But I think an excellent set of kids and an excellent set of sheep. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Results for Class 1 South Down. First place, Blue Laney Bray from Canyon FFA. Second place, Blue Gracie Turk, Canyon FFA. Third place, Red Selena Shady, Canyon Lake FFA. Fourth place, Red Brooke Zedeker, Smithson Valley FFA. Fifth place, White Lauren Davis, Smithson Valley FFA.
When we bring your middleweight South Downs out here, the young ladies down that wins the class wins it pretty handily for me in this class. Here's a sheep that balances up extremely well. Is a sheep chock full of muscle? No, but does he have enough for me in this class? Yes, he does. He handles extremely well. He's nice out of his hip. We'd like to just power him up in that center third of his rear leg and get him a little taller at the point of the shoulders, get him a little more balance, but I think a nice one to win this class. Our young man's here that comes here in second. There's another one that's attractive from the side, but the one that gets off in his neck set just ever so slightly and wants to be a little deeper, a little flatter over that forerib, not quite as muscular and dimensional as we compare him to our first place lamb. I think one that you start to look at him, he fits in this second hole for me extremely well. Our young ladies that comes in third here, here's another sheep that's long from flank to flank, one that has some foot size about it, but one that gets a little plainer from the side when you look at him, one that gets a little flatter, a little deeper in his rib, one that you just need to give him more firmness and touch to move up around the other two. But I think an excellent set of sheep. Then we get to our young ladies here in fourth. Here's another sheep that's tall and it's kind of designed. The one that you get over the top of him, he just gets a little plainer down his top, not quite as correct in that hip loin juncture, and definitely not as wide in his pin set to move up around these first three. But I think an excellent set of sheep. Let's give these guys a round of applause. Good job.
Results for Class 2 South Down. First place blue, Paige Bedgood, Canyon High FFA. Second place blue, Preston Phillips, Canyon FFA. Third place red, Riley Rust, Smithson Valley FFA. Fourth place red, Bristol Arnold, Comal 4-H. Fifth place white, Aiden Francis, Smithson Valley FFA. Sixth place white, Alexandra Munoz, Long Creek FFA.
Out here, kind of assortment of sheep that sort themselves to the top. The young lady's wether that starts a class is just an attractive sheep, one that outhandles the others in the class, one that has some firmness to him, one that's lean over those ribs, and that's kind of where he sets himself apart from the others, is handleability. Does he outmuscle some of them? No, I'll take that, but he is tall, pointed shoulders, attractive, one that we do want to give him a shot more muscle down his top, level him out of his hip, but I think just correctness of finish and touch, he wins this class. We get to our young ladies here in second. Here's one that patterns our first, but one that just gets a little softer to the touch, one that gets a little staler down his top when you analyze him, one that you get his chine mown up in him a little bit, one that you just need a little more muscularity, a little more depth of muscle in that rear leg to move up. I think a nice one to come here in second. And we get to our third here. Here's one that does have some width in that center body, but one that you get your hands on. He's carrying a lot of cover over those ribs for me, one that's not quite as correct out of that hip, and definitely in that center portion of his rear leg. We just got to blow him apart, give him a little more lower leg to move up. I think a nice trio here to start our class. Let's give these guys a round of applause.
Second place blue, Lauren Whiteside from Broncos FFA. Third place red, Paige Bedgood, Canyon FFA. Fourth place white, Emmy Larson, Canyon FFA. Fifth place white, Layla Lira, New Broncos FFA. I think when we bring our downs out here for the champion drive, granted it was maybe 15, 16 head, I don't know how many, but it wasn't many, but we had some quality from top to bottom. We had some sheep that had that look about them. They have some muscularity, they have some structure, and you got to appreciate that about them. I think there's one out here that fits me extremely well today for this breed and our breed drive, one that handles good, one that's got some muscularity, one that has some length of body, some look from the side. Granted, we didn't say he was fault-free, but there's some things we'd like to change. But I think there's just one that kind of fits me today and for this breed and does me a little good.
our middleweight's going to be our champion. Let's give this young lady a round of applause. I think when you come out here for your reserve breed, the second place middleweight, it doesn't disappoint you. I think there's another one out here that fits me extremely well, one that's got some dimension of muscle, some center body, one that carries into a good hip and lower leg. Our lightweight's going to be our reserve. Let's give this young lady a round of applause.
Congratulations, Paige Bedgood with your breed champion Southdown, and Lainey Bray with your reserve breed Southdown.
Out here, the young man that starts a class just out handles everything here when you get your hands on him. This is the most correctly finished lamb over the ribs, one that handles extremely firm. The young man does an exceptional job getting him presented for to me. Is he one that you'd like to tighten him up in his chest floor, give him a little more center rib to him? Yes, I agree with you 100%. I think the young man's just done an exceptional job getting him fit, getting him in here for me today, and handability kind of got him in that first hole. We get to our young man's lamb here, kind of give him a little fit for me today, but one that you start to analyze. He's extremely tall at the point of the shoulders, one that's attractive and eaten up through his chest floor, one that just doesn't have quite that muscularity down his top and that handability that our first place lamb has. I think if he act a little better for you, get his head out of him and go and drive a little firmer, we might could do some things, but I think a real attractive sheep to come here in our second hole. Our young ladies here in third, here's another one that's presented extremely well, but one that gets a little deceiving. When you get your hands on him, it gets a little softer to the touch, one that's carrying a little more finish over that rib, one that just gets a little staler in the look when you get him from the side. I think a nice trio there to start our class. Let's give these individuals a round of applause.
One fine wool. First place blue, Luke Betzworth, Canyon FFA. Second place blue, Nathan Sierra, Canyon Lake FFA. Third place red, Madison Beatty, Canyon FFA. Fourth place red, Emily Beatty, Canyon FFA. Fifth place red, Zachary Sierra, Canyon Lake FFA.
Out here, some give and take in the top pair here. The young ladies I started the class with, one that handles extremely well, one that's tall at the point of the shoulders. Young lady does an exceptional job getting him drove. But one that you start to analyze him, I would like to blow him out in his hook to pins, give him a little more lower leg, and just shallow him up in his chest a little bit. He's starting to give a little more maturity for me. But I think one that wins this class, again, on handleability, got him finished well. Good job, young lady. Our young man's here that comes in second. Here's one that you love from the side, extremely attractive. One that I like his chest floor any better than the first place lamb. But one that you get over the top of me, it quite as massive right on his rack shape there. Doesn't handle with quite the firmness that our first place lamb does. But one that you have to like the attractiveness, the balance that he brings to the ring. Just a smooth made fine one to come here in second. We get to our young ladies here in third. Here's one that does have some muscularity about him down his top, but one that you start to look at him, it gets a little plainer in his chest floor, one that gets a little deeper, a little shorter from side to side, flank to flank, one that we just got to get some firmness to him, get a more youthful appearing look. It gets a little stale for me when you start to analyze him from the side. I think a nice trio here. Let's give him a round of applause. Good job.
Class 2 finals. First place blue, Brooklyn Howell, Comal 4H. Second place blue, Brody Arnold, Comal 4H. Third place red, Paxton Cochran, New Braunfels FFA. Fourth place white, Hannah Haker, New Braunfels FFA. Fifth place white, Parker Pilata, Long Creek FFA.
Well, we bring your fine wheels out here for the fine wheel drive. I think a nice set of four here, some sheep again. It kind of sound like a broken record, but they have some muscularity. They have some look about them. They handle extremely well. Those are getting presented extremely well. I think when you start to analyze them pound for pound, a sheep that fits me a little better today, one that's a little neater in his blades, one that's a little neater in their chest floor, one that's definitely a little bigger and broader out of their hip and into that lower leg. Our lightweight's going to be our champion. Let's give this young man a round of applause. Good job. I think when you come out here for reserve, we bring our lightweight second place out here. Another sheep that's attractive to look at, one that you like that about him. But I think there's one that fits me a little better today. You got some width of body, got some muscularity, and again, handles extremely well. Our heavyweight's going to be our reserve. Let's give this young lady a round of applause. Good job.
Thank you.
Luke Betzworth with your breed champion fine wool, and Brooklyn Howell with your reserve breed champion fine wool.
we bring your lightweight crosses out here. Definitely probably the deepest class we've seen today with some quality, some muscle. The young ladies that starts the class, you can see from outside the ring, this sheep is three-dimensional down his top. He's got some center body to him. He's got some curvature to the rib, one that handles extremely well, one that comes out to a nice hip, a nice lower leg. If I was to change him a little bit, I'd like to pick him up at the point of the shoulders, get him to move around the ring a little freer, but luckily everything in here didn't want to walk extremely well for y'all today. I think one that you got to appreciate, the base width that he has, the forearm that he brings to the ring, and just the dimension of muscle you see laid down his top and through that hip and lower leg. Nice sheep to start the class. Our young ladies that comes here in second is one that is a little taller at the point of the shoulders when you look at him from the side, one that just gets a little plainer in his rib design, not quite as stout in his feature, one that didn't quite as opened up in that center body as we compare him to the first place lamb. I think one to come in this second hole extremely well for me to end this class. The young man's here in third. Here's one that is long from flank to flank, one that just doesn't have that dimension of muscle when we get over the top of him, one that you'd like to move his neck set back in him just a tick, get him to drive on out, give him a little more pin width to him to move up in class. I think an excellent set of sheep here. Let's give him a big round of applause.
I don't want to.
One final cross. First place blue, Macy Wonderlet, Comal 4H. Second place blue, also Macy Wonderlet, Comal 4H. Third place red, Zachary Sierra, Canyon Lake, FFA. Fourth place red, Cheyenne Tomlin, Canyon, FFA. Fifth place white, Trinity Bryan, Canyon Lake, FFA. Sixth place white, Jamison Holcomb, Comal 4H.
I think when we come out here with your heavyweight crosses, it's a close placing between these top pair. There's some give and take. But I think the young lady's lamb that starts the class is just a combination sheep for me. One that puts it together a little better, gets it presented extremely well. One that handles with some firmness down his top. He's attractive from the side. You like how his blades are laid in him. One that you would like to give him a little more muscularity and center of body when you get over the top of him. I think he's acceptable today for me in this class. Just an attractive, well-balanced, well-presented sheep. Good job, young lady. Our young man's weather here in second. I'll tell you, when you get out beside him, you love the turn of the rib this sheep has. You love the shoulder that he has. Comes out of a good hip, good lower leg. Where I start to question him as he gets a little softer to the touch, not driving quite as hard as our young lady in first. So I like to just clean him up, get him a little firmer, get him a little tighter over those ribs. I think a nice, neat sheep, especially when you put him on motion, the foot size that he brings to the ring, a nice one to come here in second. Our young man's here, the weather that rounds out the top three. Here's another one that presented extremely well, has some touch to him, but a sheep that just gets a little plainer from the side, one that wants to get a little flatter and deeper in that full rib than we'd like to see, one that we definitely like to blow him out in his hook to pins, give him a little more lower third to compete with the first two above him. I think a nice trio here. Let's give these young individuals a round of applause.
Two final cross. First place blue, Brooke Betsworth, Canyon FFA. Second place blue, Javier Ruiz, New Braunfels FFA. Third place blue, Luke Betsworth, Canyon FFA. Fourth place red, Brooke Betsworth, Canyon FFA. Fifth place white, Camellia Ruiz, New Braunfels FFA. Sixth place white, Brody Arnold, Comal 4-H. Seventh place white, Kennedy Modest, Canyon FFA.
I think when you get your fine wool crosses out here in your breed drive, we got an excellent group of sheep and more so an excellent set of exhibitors here. I think you got some sheep again with some muscle, some look about them, some handability, some cutability. I think we got to have that about them. It's a close pacing, and really in these top four here, there's some differences, but yet there's some similarities between some out here. Again, they got to have that look. They got to have some muscularity. I got to have one that's going to turn from the side and we can take a picture with as well. And I think there's one out here that just a little more youthful, one that's definitely opened up in their back shape, the rib design, a little more center body and out of that hip and lower leg. Our lightweight's going to be our champion. Let's give this young lady a big round of applause.
Told you. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. When you come out here for your reserve, it gets a little closer placing between our heavyweight and our class 1 second place here. I think when you start to analyze them and you look at the first place or the champion there and you start to look at pound for pound, sheep that have some similarities, have some muscle shape, has some design, some look, I think you got to follow it up with the second place lightweight. Let's give this young lady a round of applause. Good job.
Congratulations, Macy Wunderlich, with both breed champion and reserve breed champion fine wool cross.
There isn't enough Dorpers to make a breed, but I think a nice set to start our show here with the Dorper breed. I think when you look at the young man's white weather that starts the class, one that wins it pretty handily for me. Here's a weather that you get over the top of him. He's dimensional down his top. He's big and bold out of that hip. One that goes into a good lower leg. Well, I like to change him, get a little bigger foot size on him. Absolutely, but that's a characteristic of this breed. May not have got to quite yet. I think one that starts this class and wins this class pretty handily for me. Our young man's that comes here in second, I think another one that's opened up in his top shape, but one that you start to analyze him, he gets a little narrower in base width, one that gets a little flatter and deeper in that forerib as we compare him to the first place lamb. I think when you still have to appreciate the touch, the attractiveness that he has, young man comes in second here nicely for me. Our young ladies here in third, here's one that is extremely neat from the side, one that's long from flank to flank, one that just isn't quite as three-dimensional down his top, doesn't handle quite with the firmness as the first two above him, but you sure have to appreciate the balance, the look that he has, the structure he has going out of his pin set there into the lower leg. We just got to get him to drive, get a little firm, give it a little more dimension of shape to move up. I think an excellent set of exhibitors. Let's give them a round of applause. Good job.
Congratulations to the Dorper exhibitors. First place blue, Zachary Eichmann, Canyon Lake FFA. Second place blue, Mason Hallmark, Comal 4-H. Third place blue, Tegan Wolf, Canyon FFA. Fourth place red, Adeline Liggett, Davenport, FFA. Fifth place red, Presley McCowan, Smithson Valley FFA. Sixth place red, Augustus Eubank, Comal 4-H. Seventh place white, Parker Pilata, Long Creek FFA. Eighth white, Tate Kennemer, Long Creek FFA.
Your medium wool class here. The young lady's wether that starts the class, this wether wins when he comes in the ring. There's one that you put him in motion. He covers the tracks extremely well. The one that you get over the top of him. He's muscular down his top. He's big and bold out of that hip. Goes into a nice lower leg. One that you appreciate. If we're going to change him, we're going to make him just a tick taller at the point of the shoulders when we put him in motion. Get his head out of him a little bit. He just acting a little goofy for us today when we put him in motion. I think one that wins this class pretty easily. We get to our second place wether here. Here's one that patterns our first, one that's muscularity and bold down that top, one that's big out of that hip. The one that you start to look at him, he gets a little more plainer in his shoulder, one that gets a little longer bladed as we compare him to our first place lamb, one that definitely is opened up, doesn't carry as much flank in him as we compare him. I think a nice wether to come here in second. We get to our young lady's ewe lamb here in third. Here's one that's attractive from the side, one that's neat in its blades, long neck, one that gets a little frailer in its bone work. I'd like to make him a little stouter in her featured, one that you need to drop her flank in her just a little bit, give her a little more look from the side. And definitely we need to give her a little shot more center third of leg to compete with the first two above him. I think an excellent set of sheep here. Let's give these guys a round of applause.
Results for Class 1 medium wools. First place blue, Livy Krippendorf, Davenport, FFA. Second place blue, Miley Hallmark, Comal 4-H. Third place red, Hannah Hager, New Braunfels, FFA. Fourth place red, Samuel Hallett, Smithson Valley, FFA. Fifth place white, Mia Cisneros, Canyon, FFA. And sixth place white, Kara Reed, Long Creek, FFA.
And again, kind of like the last class, young man's weather that starts the class kind of wins it pretty handily for me. One that's definitely got some dimension of muscle down his top, one that's opened up in a big, bold rib, one that's big out of his hip, one that you like him for that center of rear leg. If I was to change him, I'd like to pick him up in his chest floor, clean him up. He wants to start to get a little more mature, a little deeper looking from the side, but that's being awful critical. Nice sheep to start the class. Our young ladies here in second, one that does have that chest floor in him. You love his design up through his front 2/3, but a sheep that just isn't massive enough for me when you get over the top of him. It's opened up in that center body as we compare him to our first place lamb. A lamb that you've got to appreciate for the attractiveness, the profile that he brings. A neat sheep to come here in second. Our young ladies, whether here in third is another combination sheep. Isn't one to really drive extremely hard for this young lady. I like to get him and just get him to go and drive out for us. But a sheep that you start to look at him, he gets a little frailer in his bone work, ain't quite as neat and as massive in his forearm, and as bold and as big out of that hip as we compare him to the pair above him. I think a nice, balanced, attractive sheep to come here in third. Let's give these guys a big round of applause.
Class 2 medium wool. First place blue, Carson Noisy, Comal 4-H. Second place blue, Chloe Gisaki, Smithson Valley, FFA. Third place blue, Shelby Tinoco, Smithson Valley, FFA. Fourth place red, Javier Ruiz, New Braunfels, FFA. Fifth place red, Adeline Liggett, Davenport, FFA. Sixth place white, Preston McCowan, Smithson Valley, FFA.
Bulls out here again, the young man's weather that starts a class is kind of the combination sheep, one that you can start looking from the ground up. He's definitely the widest base, one that you get through that chest floor. He's cracked open into a big rib. You can see he's got a tremendous amount of muscle down his top, out of that hip and lower leg, and handles extremely well. One thing I'd say, I'd like to stretch him, get him a little taller at the point of his shoulders just a tick. I think a nice weather to start the class. Our young ladies here in second. Here's one that's extremely attractive when you turn him from the side. One that you like the front 2/3 of this sheep, tall, long, elevated, but a sheep that just kind of plays out when we get over the top of him. Not quite as wide and as dimensional down that top through that loin and hip as we compare him to our first place lamb. I think a real nice one to come here in second. Our young ladies' weather here in third. Here's another weather that handles extremely well when you get your hands on him, but yet she's got him firm. But he's got a little finish over those ribs. I'd like to tighten him up, get him more look there, get him a little crisper look when you turn him from the side, just give him a little more youthful appearance to move with the other two above him. I think a nice trio there as well as the other three over here. Let's give all these exhibitors a round of applause.
Results, Class 3 medium bulls. First place blue, Carson Noisy, Comal 4H. Second place blue, Lenny Krippendorf, Davenport, FFA. Third place red, Audrey Kep, Comal 4H. Fourth place red, Talon Lindeman, Long Creek, FFA. Fifth place red, Joseph Howlett, Smithy Valley, FFA. Sixth place white, Talon Lindeman, Long Creek, FFA.
I think when we bring our heavyweights out here, the young lady's ewe lamb that starts the class, definitely not the biggest in the class, but she wins it pretty handily for me. One that you put her in motion, she covers her tracks extremely well. She's opened up. One that still is youthful appearing in her chest floor and her front 2/3 of her body. And one that you get over the top of her, she has some muscularity about her. She goes out to a level hip, a good lower leg, just a nice, clean, pretty sheep to start the class. Our young lady's Weather here in second. Here's one that it kind of is getting a little past his prime for me today. One that gets a little deeper and a little more common up through his chest floor. One that is not quite as attractive from the side as we analyze him to the ewe lamb that starts it. But a sheep that in his second hole has some muscularity about him, level out of his hip, good in that lower leg. One that's got some structure about him. When you put him in motion, you appreciate that. I just got to give him a little more youthful appearance to move up and compete with our first place ewe. Our young lady's Weather here in third. Here's another Weather that's got some attractiveness about it, but one that you start to look at him, we'd like to give him a little more stouter feature, one that you'd like to see a little more forearm, a little more muscularity, dimension, just blow him out in his center of body to compete with the two above him. I think a nice one to come here in third. Let's give all the exhibitors a round of applause.
First place blue, Chloe Giesecke, Smithson Valley, FFA. Second place blue, Hannah Donovan, Davenport, FFA. Third place red, Audrey Kep, Comal 4-H. Fourth place red, Layla Lira, New Braunfels, FFA. Fifth place white, Annie Titla, Canyon, FFA.
People will drive a big round of applause. I think when you get out here and you start to analyze these sheep here, there's definitely some similarities. They're all cracked open from the ground up. They have some foot size to them, some bone. And granted, they got a bunch of boot wool. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not hung up on boot wool. It's a pain in the rear if you've got a bunch at the house, and then when one slips it or you have an accident, they're dead in the water. So I'm not the biggest boot wool fan, so don't think it's that. These actually have some foot size, some bone work, some forearm in them, some muscularity, and yet still maintains a look about them that we're trying to look for in these market animals, and ones that, again, you want to take out from the side. You want to take a picture with them because, everybody says they only see a picture. They're not standing in this ring. So you got to have something that's going to have some look about them. And I think these eight lambs have those things and those attributes about them. I think there's one for me out here that's kind of more man amongst boys. He's got some structure to him. He's got some bone work, got some width, got some look, handles extremely well. I'm going to go out here and shake your hand of your champion, meet him all, and then we're going to work on your reserve. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Which one?
Which one, Ethan? Reserve champion, you can see which two. We got our lightweight winner here, and then we got our second place class 3. Granted, there's some differences between these pair, and it's got to make a decision what's the best for you today and what you feel like driving back home, and which one fits me extremely well. Again, both of them handle extremely well when you get your hands on them. They've got some muscularity. There's one that's just a little smoother in their kind and design. One that you put in motion, they keep their chest up in them a little cleaner. One a little neater in their blades. Our second place, class 3, is going to be our reserve. Let's give this young lady a round of applause. Good job.
Thank you.
With your medium wool breed champion, Carson Noisy, and your reserve breed champion was exhibited by Livy Krippendorf.
Applause here. Again, I think when you come out here for your champion, you know, I'm not a big speech giver, but we got the best industry and we got the best kids. And anything we do here, we play sports as a family, we show as a family, we fish as a family, we hunt as a family. But I think we still all come back to the livestock showing. Again, it's not fun, fair, positive, and we need some of that in our life nowadays, especially being an educator. I see things at schools when I walk in them, and these kids don't know how to adversity, how to rebound from losing, how to rebound from not doing what you think you should, or it didn't go your way. And in livestock, you learn that pretty quick. You get humbled about what you do. It's humbling when you get beaten. When you win, you need to be humble about when you win, and be gracious and thankful. And again, my daughter getting to go with me today and work with me, I love that. It's tough to talk her mother out of going to school because we're going to worry about academics first, but we said, hey, you only live once, and she wants to go do this. She wants to come with me and work with me, and she's done a good job. I can't get her on the microphone. She'll tell me when I'm doing wrong, but she won't come and get on it and do it herself. But I think when you get these out here, again, there's that look about these sheep. There's some muscularity in these sheep, but I think there's just a pair out here that fit me extremely well. They have those attributes. They handle extremely well. They're muscular. They're going to take a beautiful picture. They move around the ring with some structure and some motion. They cover their tracks. I think you got to stick with your two medium wolves. They're going to be your grand reserve. Let's give these young individuals a round of applause.
Carson Noisy, Grand Champion Lamb Exhibitor. And Lenny Krippendorf with your reserve Grand Champion Lamb of the Show.
A big round of applause here for a job well done. And the ones that went back, I talked to each of them, things I'd like to change about them. And it's refreshing to see that many seniors walk into a showmanship class. It seems like it's been dwindling. They don't think it's as important to come in here and present their animals and get better. And guys, every time you walk in the ring, you get better, or you should get better. You should learn something from watching your peers around you if somebody's better than you, or you just getting the sheep in the ring and breaking them and getting them to do some different things. But I think that there's an excellent set of exhibitors here. Again, I'm a big guy. When we have showmanships, I think back to how you showed in the class, how you showed in the drive, how you showed a minute ago, because that's when it counts. When we're wanting to make sale, we're wanting to do good, we're wanting to win our classes and do some things, I think back of that. I'm not just that you walk in showmanship and get them presented one time. I think how you did back then and how you look out here. I think when you start to look at these, I'm a guy that they got to touch. I'm not the person that just likes you to stand there and look pretty. You know, when we get to our house, we have a few arguments out in the barn. We have a few arguments out in the yard that, hey, just sitting there looking pretty doesn't count. We got to drive them. We got to get them firm. We got to get that touch in them. And I think there's some exhibitors out here that do an exceptional job. You can tell they've worked at home. Their animals are calm. They move around the ring extremely well. And again, every time you go to them, you want to see them set. And that's a big peeve of mine too, is when we get them in motion, the first person gets them stopped, set correctly, and they don't move. Works for me because, hey, anytime we're judging, we're going to turn and look at that one that's set, not the one that's dancing around. But I think there's an individual out here, and I think we need to pick two, correct? There's one individual I think did an exceptional job in the show, and they did another exceptional job when you come here. Their lamb was set at all times. When you got your hands on them, they had them extremely firm. They were calm when they moved around the ring. The lamb was fluid when it moved. So again, you know that the homework was done at home and they've been in and out of the ring. Let's give these exhibitors a big round of applause. I'm going to shake your hand, your champion senior, and then we'll look for our reserve.
That's
I think when you come out here for your reserve senior showman, there's another one that did extremely well in class. Always kept their lamb firm to the touch. One that you appreciate the movement around the ring. The one that's got some ring presence, some intensity when they come through the ring. Our young lady in front of me with the finals will be our reserve senior showman. Let's give her a round of applause. Good job.
you.
Senior showman Carson Noisy and Brooklyn Howell, reserve senior showman.
Let's give these intermediates a big round of applause here for a job well done. We kind of just talked, or I just talked individually with them, some things I'd like to change. And again, it's being critical. They're a good set of exhibitors here. We have that intensity when we come in the ring. They have that eye contact. They are fluid around their sheep. They move extremely well. There's some that are a little more calmer than others when they get around them and they move around. They get them a little firmer to the touch. I think when you start to analyze these exhibitors as showmen, there's one that just sticks out to me that does an exceptional job. They did an exceptional job a minute ago when we had our show, and they came out here and did another display of a good showmanship, and one that you can tell they've had their hands on their sheep. That sheep doesn't move when you get your hands on it, extremely firm to the touch. They're calm about what they do, but yet still intense about what they want. You can tell they have that aggression that, hey, I want to win. And Judge, come find me. Our young lady down on the end is going to be our champion intermediate showman. Let's give her a big round of applause. I think when you come and look for your reserve intermediate showman, it gets a little closer placing. I think there's another individual that did extremely well. Some things I'd like to change, a little more intensity, just a little more aggression, maybe move around the ring a little fluider. I think when they got their animal set and they did it in the show ring, they did an exceptional job. Young lady with our big south down in the black is going to be our reserve intermediate showman. Let's give her a round of applause.
Intermediate showman Chloe Giesecke and reserve intermediate showman Miley Hallmark.
Round of applause here. Granted, there's only 4 of them, and I'll be honest, that's kind of discouraging a little bit. I'd like to see more in our juniors because that means we got more kids coming up in our industry and doing our projects. I think when you look out here, and again, you look at the show and how it went and how they showed in the show ring, there's an individual out here that gets it done for me. They have their lambs set. They've kept them firm. As I just talked to them, are they the most intense person? No, I'd like to see them get a little more aggression, a little more intensity about them. Maybe, I hate to use the term anger, but you got to get just a little more aggression about you when you move around the ring and get a little more intensity. I think these exhibitors do a good job. Again, I think there's one that just has kept their lamb set and calm and moved around the ring calmly, didn't get excited about the movements they made, and then you ask them to do it, they did what they needed to do. Our young lady with the 5-0 cross in the blue is going to be our champion. Junior Showman, let's give her a round of applause. Good job. Come back. Just come out here, baby. I think when you come out here and you look for your reserve junior showman, I talked to each one of them some things I'd like to change. And I'm sitting there looking, hey, I talked to y'all, hey, what do we do to change that? How do we fix? What are our movements going to be? Where's our placement in our hands, our legs? And I think we've got to look at that because that's a time to learn. If we're going to correct some things, we try to correct it. When you get some advice, try to take it. Watch other kids, the intermediate. We got some exceptional intermediate and senior showmen. You youngsters watch them and learn from that and ask questions. This is an industry where you can ask questions and you'll get some help. I've never had anybody say, get out of my face and I won't help you. That's one thing this industry is not. We're all kind of a big family and we'll help whoever we can. I think when you start to look at them, and again, and I talk to the individuals what to change and fix, there's one that for sure did what I just said. Their animal's set, they're calm, their head's back down in them, they didn't fold it up over their shoulder. I think our young man with the ewe-lamb, young man, you corrected what I told you to do, and I appreciate that. You're going to be our reserve showman. Let's give you a round of applause.
Junior showman Camila Ruiz. And our reserve junior showman Tate Canamer.
When you bring them out for Supreme Showman, which is a neat thing. I mean, there ain't many county fairs that do it, especially with a traveling trophy and you get your name on it forever, much less for this year, the 2026 Comal County Fair. I think that these individuals do an exceptional job. As I said, intensity a minute ago, we got to get a little more intense about what we do. That's why our lamb's getting a little loose, calm. You're a little more aggression. They wouldn't do that because you'd stay on it. When we look at these two intermediate, junior, and senior showmen, I mean, exceptional exhibitors here. They do an exceptional job. And I've always said, you know, we raise sheep. Who do I want to show our sheep? When we're an ag teacher, hey, who do I want to get on the best sheep to go out there and try to win? And I think both of you individuals do an exceptional job at that. There's one individual to me, as I said earlier, and I told you, when you get them move around the ring and you stop them, you get them set, they don't move the quickest, and they're hard, they're firm, they look the part, is the one I'm looking for. And I think one individual out here, every time they moved around the ring, as soon as they parked, that sheep was set within 3 seconds. And I think that has to be a good thing that you look for, a good exhibitor and one that's been working at home and one that's been doing their stuff. And I'm not taking away from any of the others. I know there's work been done because they're exceptional showmen. I think when you come out here for a Supreme, there's one that just fits me a little better, one a little smoother for my kind, design, how I want my showman to react, extremely calm, but yet intense when they come in the ring. Our young man's going to be our champion showman. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Congratulations, Carson Noisy, on the overall Fred and Mary Flo Memorial Trophy. You'll have a piece of his name engraved on that trophy.